What is going on, Av Warriors? It's your boy Edward V, and today we're going to talk about how you can still destroy your insulin or ruin your insulin while still intermittent fasting. Now, I know a lot of people think that because they intermittent fast, they're protecting automatically their blood sugar levels or their insulin levels. But I'm here to tell you that that is not the case. Although intermittent fasting can definitely give you an immense benefit, you could be sabotaging the one key thing that you're trying to protect. I'm going to go ahead and break it down in this video. Stay tuned. So once again, this video is brought to you by the Coldest Water, my favorite water bottle. And as I explained in my previous videos, study after study shows that the more palatable water is cold water versus hot water. Although hot water is soothing, you are more likely to create the habit of drinking water when you drink cold water. And there isn't a better cold water bottle out there than the Coldest Water that can keep your water cold for an unprecedented 36 hours. You can click on the link down below and use the promo code FLEDGE and it'll give you 10% off your entire order. And that code does two things. It supports this channel and gives you an awesome water bottle. Now let's go ahead and jump right into the video. The first thing that we're going to talk about is diet. You can use intermittent fasting to help facilitate insulin level control, trying to increase insulin sensitivity and decrease insulin resistance. But your blood sugar level tends to coincide with your insulin levels. If you have high blood sugar levels, you tend to have high insulin levels. If you have low blood sugar levels, you tend to have low insulin levels. You do need insulin so that you can regulate sugar, but if you have too much insulin and you're insulin resistant, then you're storing so much body fat but not burning enough body fat. So insulin control is really important, and intermittent fasting is a tool that you can use to help you control your insulin levels, to be more insulin sensitive than you are insulin resistant, so that you're leaning more towards attacking body fat and using it for fuel than storing body fat. But intermittent fasting is one piece of the puzzle. You could be eating poorly and going against what you're trying to do with intermittent fasting. See, insulin is dictated by how much glucose is coming in your body. So if you're eating carbohydrates that are high in the glycemic index, that is going to affect you negatively because it's going to spike your insulin up. And if you continue to do that, that's going to work against you heavily, because although you're fasting and you're reducing your insulin, every time you're breaking your fast, you're eating foods that are high in the glycemic index, that's spiking your insulin really high. And this back and forth could lead to insulin resistance. So you want to tame yourself a bit and make sure that you're not constantly eating high sugar foods. Things like simple carbohydrates or candies and chocolate, things like that will definitely affect you negatively if you don't do it in moderation. Your diet is important to reducing insulin. Always remember the rule of thumb: the less glucose you take in, the less insulin is needed. The more glucose you take in, the more insulin is needed. And the more insulin is needed on a consistent basis, the more insulin resistant your body can become. Another thing that can actually affect your insulin is gaining weight. Now, we don't know for sure. There isn't a causation, but there are associations with weight gain and insulin resistance. It could also be that because one is insulin resistant, that causes them to gain weight. However, just because you're doing intermittent fasting will not guarantee that you don't gain weight, because calorie intake is still a factor. So if you're eating above your caloric maintenance level, you can gain weight while still doing intermittent fasting. And this weight gain has been shown to associate itself with insulin resistance. So this will also work against what you're doing with intermittent fasting to try to tame your insulin levels. So please try to make sure that you're not gaining too much weight, and if you are gaining weight, make sure that you're trying to gain as much muscle as possible as opposed to body fat. And with that, we can segue into exercise. Lack of exercise or lack of activity can actually cause insulin resistance. because an active and healthy body actually tames your insulin levels. Remember, insulin is a hormone. So the healthier you are, the more productive your body is and the more efficient it becomes, meaning that it is less likely to become insulin resistant and be resistant to the glucose coming in. When you're constantly active, building muscle, using glucose for muscle, physically and actively burning a lot of glucose on a weekly basis, this will help tame your insulin spikes, as you will be basically burning as much glucose as you can throughout the week because you're implementing exercise. Now, if you don't implement exercise, that can work against you. Now, is it the be all end all? It isn't, but trust me, carrying muscle on your body, you don't have to be a bodybuilder or a weightlifter or anything like that, or a power lifter, but just having muscle on your body has shown itself in the scientific literature to be something that is of great advantage to you. Health-wise, insulin sensitivity-wise, even autophagy-wise, muscle is important, and muscle definitely keeps you healthy. Muscle is the primary driver for your metabolic rate. Muscle helps tame your insulin levels. Muscle helps burn more fat because it's so metabolically active. Muscle helps partition calories because it requires so much calories. So when you're eating something or you're consuming something, if it has a certain amount of calories, a certain portion of those calories will go to feed your muscles. And the more muscles you have, the more of those calories have to go there as opposed to going to your body fat. So there's a plethora of positive benefits. I know that a lot of people are resistant to doing resistance training, but it comes with a lot of benefits. So I implore you to look into it if you haven't yet. And helping you tame your insulin levels is just one of the many attributes. Also, please make sure that you're getting enough sleep because chronic stress can also go against you. Like I said, remember, it's a hormone and it can trigger in certain ways depending on how your body is reacting. So if you have a chronic high stress level situation, try to do things to reduce that. One major thing that you can do is just get more sleep. I hope this video has helped you guys. And of course, as always, I want to thank my patrons for my Patreon, and I'm going to go ahead and put their names right up here. And as always, guys, I'll see you on Sunday for another FAQ. Peace!